You're here because you want to get smarter, faster, and well, without drowning in details.
Mhm.
That's what we do here on the Deep Dive.
Mhm.
And today, we're plunging into a document called Hot Sex Tips of a PhD Doctor.pdf.
Yeah, and look, the title, it's catchy, sure. But let's be clear, this isn't about, cheap tricks or anything.
Right.
Our deep dive today is really focused on pulling out genuinely useful insights. And maybe a few surprises, too. Stuff that can really enhance how you understand and experience intimacy.
And pleasure, yeah. Whether that's solo or with a partner.
Exactly.
Looking through this, it's really way more than just a list of positions or something.
Absolutely.
We're looking at anatomy, erogenous zones, sure, but also specific techniques and even some like really insightful relationship advice that kind of stood out.
It did, and there's a big theme right from the start, especially in the intro in this section called 10 Tips for Better Sex.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea of like ditching the pressure to be perfect or some kind of sexual superstar.
Yes. That really hit home for me. It talks about all the mental energy we waste, asking ourselves, am I doing this okay? Are they liking this? Do I look all right?
Right, all that
It
self-consciousness.
just sucks the energy right out of the moment, doesn't it?
Completely. The document basically suggests that a real game changer in your sex life can be just letting go of that.
Just relaxing into it.
Being more present, more relaxed. Apparently that unlocks way more pleasure than, chasing some imaginary ideal.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. One of the first things that really jumped out at me was this idea of lusty foreplay.
Mm-hmm.
And here's where it got really interesting. It often doesn't even involve, like, physical contact at all.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The emphasis is really on flirting.
Yeah.
The document actually calls flirting a fundamental human behavior, almost like a genetic survival tactic.
Huh. Like how we signal interest in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about it. And, it points out how that intense flirting you might have when you first meet someone, well, that playful spark can kind of fade over time, even in really committed relationships.
That makes sense.
And get this, researchers, apparently the ones who study this stuff, believe that actively keeping that flirting going with your long-term partner is actually key to having more sex.
Wow. Okay. So it's not just for the beginning stages.
Seems not. If we connect it to the bigger picture, keeping that playful, kind of lighthearted connection alive seems really vital for long-term intimacy.
And the source gives some pretty concrete tips, too, ones that feel, doable.
Totally. Like making a bit of an effort with your appearance.
Right. Not like you have to become someone else,
Yeah.
but just doing something that makes you feel good, feel a little bit sexy, maybe.
Exactly. And then there's the advice to just be playful. It stresses that flirting shouldn't feel like this high-stakes performance,
Yeah. Laughter and sex apparently share some of the same feel-good brain chemistry.
Mm-hmm. And importantly, it also says flirting doesn't always have to, lead directly to sex.
Huh.
It's more about the connection itself, the fun of it, as signaling that the interest is still there, but without this obligation for it to immediately escalate.
Gotcha. So it takes the pressure off there, too.
Precisely.
Right. So, okay, shifting gears a bit
Mm-hmm.
from the non-physical to the very much physical, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The document then dives into something absolutely critical for what calls a red-hot sexual relationship. Communication.
And it really doesn't mince words. It basically says talking openly is probably the single most important thing you can do.
Which I think for a lot of people raises the big question. Oh, okay, but how? How do you even start those conversations?
And the source actually gives 4 really practical tips. They seem designed to help navigate what can feel, pretty awkward or vulnerable.
Definitely. Okay, so the first one is all about timing.
Yes. Choose the right moment.
Hmm.
And definitely not right when you're, about to get intimate or right after.
Yeah, probably not the best time.
It suggests bringing up sex topics when you're both relaxed, have time to actually chat, like over coffee, maybe during lunch, even on a car ride sometimes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Creates a more relaxed space, no immediate pressure.
Exactly. And the second tip, it's about getting clear with yourself first.
Oh, this is so key, isn't it?
Totally. You really need to understand your own desires, your needs, maybe even your fears, before you can really articulate them to someone else.
Yeah. The document even suggests, maybe writing them down beforehand, just to get your thoughts straight.
By understanding your own vulnerabilities, what you're hoping for, you can approach the conversation with more honesty, more clarity. It makes it easier for your partner to get where you're coming from.
Right. And the third tip is about how you say things. Making requests, not complaints.
Such a smart distinction.
Yeah. Instead of pointing fingers like you never do X, it's framing it around your own feelings, your preferences.
Mhm. The example it gives is so direct, but still respectful. Something like, I prefer when you use firmer pressure with your tongue rather than just a light flick.
See, that's specific.
Yeah.
And it's about what you like, not what they're doing wrong.
Precisely. It shows you can be clear without being critical.
Yeah.
And the final tip for starting these talks, really listen, actively listen and ask questions.
Right. It's got to be a two-way street. Can't just be one person laying down the law.
Exactly. If you tend to be the talker, maybe make a conscious effort to create space, encourage your partner to share their thoughts too.
And asking clarifying questions. That shows you're actually engaged, right? That you value what they're saying.
Definitely. And here's something that really jumped out at me, a surprising takeaway.
Oh, yeah.
The document points out that people who report the highest levels of sexual satisfaction, they often spend more time talking about sex than actually, having it.
No way. More time talking about it.
Apparently. Some even find these open discussions actually increase their desire, their arousal.
That's incredible. It just underscores how much the mental and emotional connection fuels the physical side, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's pivot then to another really important area this document tackles head on, the impact of, well, mainstream porn, how it affects what we think we know about sex and what we expect.
Yeah, this is a crucial point. The source is really explicit. Pornography is made for entertainment. It's not education.
Right.
And because of that, it often presents a really skewed, unrealistic picture of sex.
It's so true. You just can't treat porn like a how-to guide. The document gives some specific examples of what it calls porn re-education.
Yeah, it does.
The first one tackles the myth that women always scream during orgasm.
Right. It makes this distinction between what it calls porngasms.
Okay.
Those often really exaggerated, sometimes faked reactions you see on screen versus what real orgasms often actually look and sound like.
And the sounds aren't always what you'd expect.
Well, current research, according to the source, indicates the noises women make don't always perfectly align with when they're actually hitting peak pleasure.
Huh. So that can create misleading expectations for everyone involved.
Exactly. Then there's the point about warm-up, about how both men and women generally need some arousal, some build-up before penetrative sex.
Which porn often just skips right over.
Completely. It creates this false idea that everyone should just be instantly ready for intercourse, like at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, no warm-up needed.
And it uses anal sex as a really clear example of this misrepresentation.
So.
The document emphasizes that, engaging in anal sex without proper preparation, relaxation, lubrication, that's just not how it happens safely or pleasurably in reality, despite how porn might show it. It can actually be harmful otherwise.
Right. It's kind of common sense when you stop and think. But yeah, porn often skips that whole necessary stage.
And the last porn re-education point it makes is about men losing erections sometimes, erectile difficulties.
Ah, yeah. The constant hardness myth in porn.
Exactly. This is something often unfairly stigmatized, but the source really normalizes it, explains it's a natural thing. Most men experience it at some point.
And it contrasts that with the constant unwavering erections you see in porn.
Reminding us that porn sets often involve, well, tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
Things like fluffers, editing, reshoots.
Right. It's not reality.
So the fundamental takeaway here really is porn is fantasy. It's entertainment. And it's definitely not an accurate picture of the sexual experiences of most average but equally sexy individuals.
And those unrealistic portrayals, they can actually create unnecessary anxiety.
Right.
Get in the way of real connection and pleasure.
Absolutely. Ultimately, what this deep dive into this perhaps surprisingly insightful document shows is a really powerful message, I think.
Yeah. What's the core?
That the foundations of truly satisfying intimacy are things like genuine connection, open, honest communication, and just having realistic expectations.
Much more important than trying to mimic something you saw online.
Exactly. Those elements are far more crucial than trying to measure up to the often distorted images we get from media.
It really does give you something to think about. So maybe for you, our listener, consider just one of those porn re-education points we talked about. Maybe the idea of instant readiness or the expectation of like super dramatic orgasms. And just take a moment. Reflect on how internalizing that might have shaped your own experiences or your expectations around intimacy.
Yeah, and think about how maybe a more grounded, more realistic understanding could open the door to more fulfilling connections.
And building on that, maybe think about which of those 10 tips for better sex from the document really resonated with you.
Is there one that you'd like to maybe explore on your own? Or perhaps even bring up with your partner?
Because deepening our understanding of ourselves and our partners in this whole area, it's an ongoing journey, isn't it?
It really is, and an incredibly rewarding one.
Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.